transport doors opened with a hiss and Hyunwoo stepped into the Galactic Veterinary Station for the first time. He carried a single bag over his shoulder and looked around with quiet interest. The corridor stretched before him, filled with beings he had only seen in training videos. A tall, blue-skinned creature walked past, its three eyes blinking at him slowly. Two small, furry aliens scurried along the wall, chattering in high-pitched voices. None of them came close to him. Hyunwoo had expected this. The files were clear. Humans were classified as predator species, apex predators to be exact. Most aliens in the galaxy found humans frightening, even when they tried to hide it. Forward-facing eyes, visible teeth, the way they moved smooth and purposeful. Everything about human biology screamed danger to prey species and even to other predators. The station director had been honest during the interview. "You'll be working alone much of the time," she had said through the video link. "Not because we don't value your skills, but because many of our staff will need time to adjust to having a human around." Hyunwoo had simply nodded. He understood fear. He had spent his entire life working with frightened creatures. The medical wing was larger than he expected. Rows of treatment bays lined both sides of the main corridor, each one equipped to handle different environmental needs. One room was filled with water, another with thick purple fog. Through a viewing window, Hyunwoo saw an alien veterinarian treating something that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. "You must be the human." Hyunwoo turned. The voice came from a being that stood nearly 8 feet tall. Her body was covered in a silver exoskeleton that caught the light, and from her head extended 2 long antennae that swayed gently. Her face was angular, with compound eyes that reflected Hyunwoo's image 100 times over. "I'm Hyunwoo," he said, keeping his voice soft and low. He had learned that loud voices startled most aliens. "You must be Chief Velmora." The antennae twitched. Velmora took a small step back, an unconscious movement. "Yes, welcome to the station. I'll show you to your quarters and workspace." As they walked, Velmora kept a careful distance. She explained the station's layout, the emergency protocols, the different species they treated. Her voice was professional but stiff. Hyunwoo noticed how her hand stayed near a small device on her belt. A communicator, probably, or perhaps an emergency alert. "We don't get many dangerous cases," Velmora was saying. "Most species bring their companion animals or livestock. The truly dangerous creatures are usually handled by military contractors or—" The alarm cut through her words. Red lights flashed along the corridor and a voice spoke urgently in Galactic Common. "Emergency incoming. Trauma Bay 3. Ravager Hound, critical injuries. All medical staff report immediately." Velmora's antennae went rigid. "A Ravager," she whispered. Her exoskeleton seemed to pale slightly. "What's a Ravager Hound?" Hyunwoo asked, already moving toward Trauma Bay 3. "A predator. 6-legged, heavily muscled, very aggressive. They're used as guard animals on some worlds, but they're barely domesticated. This is going to be difficult." The trauma bay was already crowded when they arrived. Medical staff clustered near the entrance, none willing to approach the large containment cage in the center of the room. Inside the cage, something massive moved and snarled. Hyunwoo pushed through the crowd carefully, aware of how the other beings pressed away from him. He got his first look at the Ravager Hound. It was beautiful and terrifying. 6 legs ending in claws that could tear through metal. A head that was all muscle and teeth. Its fur was matted with blue blood, and one of its rear legs was badly injured. The creature's eyes were wild, rolling in its head as it lunged at the bars of the cage again and again. 2 aliens stood next to the cage, struggling to hold the controls. They were Thalan, a species covered in thick brown fur. "Please help," one of them called out. "She's injured badly, but she won't let anyone near her." Velmora approached with a long pole, a sedative injector attached to the end. Her hands shook slightly. She got within 10 feet of the cage and the Ravager went insane. It threw itself at the bars with such force that the entire cage shook. A roar split the air, a sound of pure rage and terror mixed together. Velmora froze. Her antennae flattened against her head. She couldn't move forward. Around the room, other staff members backed toward the exits. The Ravager's fierce scent filled the air, sharp and bitter. Hyunwoo watched for a moment longer. He saw what the others didn't see, the way the creature's pupils were dilated, the foam at its mouth, the trembling in its uninjured legs. He had seen this before in 100 different animals on Earth. He stepped forward. The room went completely silent. Every being there watched as the human approached the cage. They expected violence. Humans were predators. Predators fought other predators. That was how it worked in nature. Hyunwoo stopped at the cage bars. The Ravager turned toward him, lips pulled back, showing rows of teeth designed for tearing flesh. They stared at each other, predator to predator. Then Hyunwoo slowly lowered himself to his knees. He broke eye contact, looking at a spot just beside the creature rather than directly at it. His breathing slowed, became deep and even. His shoulders relaxed. "It's just frightened," he whispered. The words were soft, barely audible, but in the silent room everyone heard them. Hyunwoo began making low sounds in his throat. Not words, not Galactic Common or Korean or any language, just sounds rhythmic and calm. He kept his body loose, non-threatening. One hand moved very slowly toward the cage bars, palm down, fingers relaxed. The Ravager snarled, but the sound was weaker. It watched the human with confusion in its eyes. This predator wasn't attacking, wasn't challenging, wasn't showing any aggression at all. Minutes passed. Hyunwoo stayed perfectly still, just breathing and making those soft sounds. Gradually, the Ravager's trembling eased. Its lips lowered over its teeth. The wild rolling of its eyes calmed. "What is he doing?" someone whispered in the back of the room. Velmora couldn't answer. She had never seen anything like this. After what felt like an eternity, the Ravager took one cautious step toward the bars where Hyunwoo knelt. Then another. It stretched its neck forward, nostrils flaring as it took in the human's scent. Hyunwoo stayed motionless, letting the creature investigate. The Ravager's head came close to Hyunwoo's hand. For a heartbeat, no one in the room breathed. Then the creature pressed its muzzle gently against the human's palm. "Tairi," Hyunwoo said softly, not moving. "I need the medical kit." "Move slowly. Stay calm." A young woman emerged from the crowd. She was human too, with short dark hair and steady hands. She had been hired as Hyunwoo's assistant, one of only 3 humans on the entire station. Tairi picked up the medical kit and approached with the same careful grace that Hyunwoo showed. "Can you open the cage?" Hyunwoo asked the Thalan handlers. "That's suicide," one of them protested. "She's going to die if we don't treat her soon," Hyunwoo said calmly. "Trust me, please." The Thalan exchanged looks. Then slowly they unlocked the cage. Hyunwoo stood up with the same deliberate slowness he had used for everything else. The cage door swung open. The Ravager hound could have burst out, could have attacked everyone in the room. Instead, it stayed where it was, watching the human with intelligent eyes. Hyunwoo stepped inside the cage. Velmora's antennae nearly fell off her head. Several staff members gasped. But Hyunwoo just knelt again beside the injured creature and began examining the wounded leg with gentle hands. The Ravager whimpered softly but didn't move. "Tairi, I need the scanner first," Hyunwoo said. "Then we'll clean the wound and seal the torn muscle. The bone looks intact." For the next hour, the entire medical staff watched in amazement as the 2 humans worked inside the cage with one of the galaxy's most dangerous predators. The Ravager lay still, occasionally licking Hyunwoo's arm as he worked. Once, when he had to reset a joint and the creature yelped in pain, Hyunwoo stopped and stroked its head until it calmed. When they finally finished, Hyunwoo and Tairi backed out of the cage slowly. The Ravager watched them go, then curled up in the corner, exhausted. The Thalan handlers stared at Hyunwoo like he had performed a miracle. Velmora approached cautiously. "How did you do that?" Hyunwoo wiped blood from his hands. She was just frightened. Pain and fear make any creature dangerous. She didn't want to hurt anyone. She just wanted the pain to stop and to feel safe. "But you're a predator. She should have seen you as a threat." "Maybe," Hyunwoo said. "Or maybe she recognized that I understood her fear. On Earth, we've learned something important about working with dangerous animals. You don't fight fear with force. You replace it with trust." Velmora's antennae swayed thoughtfully. She looked at the sleeping Ravager, then back at the human. For the first time since Hyunwoo had arrived, she truly looked at him. Not at a predator. "At a person, will you teach me?" she asked. Hyunwoo smiled. It was a gentle smile, not showing too many teeth. "Of course." The emergency call came at dawn. Hyunwoo was in the medical bay, reviewing supply inventories with Tairi when Byung-ho burst through the door. The director's fur was standing on end, a sign of extreme stress. "We have a situation," he said. "A colony world. A Titan worm has awakened." Hyunwoo set down his datapad. "What's a Titan worm?" "A planetary predator," Velmora said, entering behind Byung-ho. Her antennae were trembling. They're enormous. This one is over a mile long. It's been dormant underground for centuries, but mining operations woke it up. Now it's destroying everything in its path. How many people are in danger? Hyunwoo asked. 50,000 beings. Multiple species. They have a settlement near the mining site. The galactic military wants to use orbital weapons to kill the worm, but that would destroy the colony and poison the planet's ecosystem. So they want me to calm it down, Hyunwoo said. The colony governor asked for you specifically, Byung-ho said. She saw the video of you with the void serpent. She thinks you might be able to help. A titan worm is not a void serpent, Velmora said quietly. It's a planetary-scale predator. It could eat 100 people and not even notice. Hyunwoo looked at his friends. Taeri's face was pale but determined. Velmora was afraid but standing firm. Byung-ho was waiting for his answer. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. 48 hours before the military strikes. Then we better leave now. The transport ship was fast, but the journey still took 12 hours. Hyunwoo spent the time studying everything they had on Titan worms. There wasn't much. The creatures were rare, living deep underground on only a handful of worlds. They fed on minerals and underground water, rarely coming to the surface. When they did, it was usually because something had disturbed them. The mining company was using sonic excavators, Velmora explained, showing him data on her screen. They generate powerful sound waves to break up rock. But those waves also travel through the ground. They must have disrupted the worm's territory. So it's not attacking, Hyunwoo said. It's defending itself. Or in pain, Taeri added. Those sonic waves could be hurting it. When they arrived at the colony world, the devastation was obvious even from orbit. A massive trail of destruction cut through the landscape, where the worm had torn its way across the surface. Buildings were crushed. Equipment was scattered, but no bodies were visible. The colonists had evacuated in time. They landed at the colony's command center. The governor, Subin, met them at the entrance. She was a Vorian, the same species as the student who had challenged Hyunwoo during training. She looked exhausted. Thank you for coming, she said. The worm is in the Western Valley about 20 miles from here. It's been destroying our mining equipment, but it hasn't approached the settlement yet. Because it's not trying to attack you, Hyunwoo said. It's trying to stop the pain. Subin's face hardened. The mining operations are essential to this colony's economy. We can't just shut them down, even if it means killing a unique creature and poisoning your planet, Velmora asked. Even then, Subin said, this colony represents the livelihoods of 50,000 beings. I have to prioritize them. Hyunwoo looked at her steadily. Give me 1 hour. Shut down the sonic equipment for 1 hour and let me approach the worm. If I can't calm it, you can proceed with the military strike. You're asking me to risk everything on a human's guess, Subin said. I'm asking you to try one more option before destroying something irreplaceable, Hyunwoo replied. Subin was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. 1 hour. That's all. They took a transport to the Western Valley. As they approached, Hyunwoo got his first look at the Titan worm. It was beyond anything he had imagined. The creature was the size of a small mountain, its body covered in rocky plates that looked like natural armor. Its head was enormous, with a mouth that could swallow a building, and it was clearly in distress. The worm thrashed back and forth, smashing equipment, tearing up the ground, roaring in a sound that shook the air. The transport landed a safe distance away. Military drones circled overhead, weapons armed and ready. Thousands of beings watched through live video feeds, waiting to see what the human would do. Hyunwoo stepped out of the transport. Behind him, Velmora followed, along with Taeri and a security team. But Hyunwoo knew the security team was useless. If the worm decided to attack, nothing could stop it. Remember to give the signal if you want us to extract you, the security chief said. Hyunwoo didn't respond. He was already walking toward the worm. Every step felt like moving through water. His heart hammered in his chest. His instincts screamed at him to run. This creature could kill him with a single movement. One swing of its tail would crush him like an insect, but he kept walking. 1 foot in front of the other, breathing deeply, forcing his body to stay relaxed even as every muscle wanted to tense for flight. The worm's head swung toward him. Its eyes were the size of transport ships, glowing with a yellow light. It saw him, this tiny creature approaching across the valley floor. Hyunwoo stopped. He was close enough now that he could feel the heat radiating from the worm's body. The ground shook with every breath the creature took. He stood there, vulnerable and small, and began to speak. "It's just frightened," he said softly. The words were carried away by the wind, but he said them anyway. "You're in pain, aren't you? Those sounds, they hurt you. They made your home unbearable. You just want them to stop." The worm's massive head lowered. It brought its face level with Hyunwoo, so close that he could see his reflection in its enormous eye. The eye studied him with an intelligence that was alien but unmistakable. Behind Hyunwoo, Velmora whispered prayers in her native language. Taeri held her breath. Thousands of beings across the galaxy watched in silence. Hyunwoo slowly reached out his hand. It was a ridiculous gesture. His entire body wouldn't even cover one of the worm's scales. But he reached out anyway, offering what he always offered: understanding, respect, and the promise of help. "I know you're scared," he said. "I'm scared too. But I promise you we'll make the pain stop. We'll fix what we broke. Just trust me, please." The worm made a sound. Not a roar this time. Something softer. A rumble that came from deep within its massive body. Then slowly, incredibly, it lowered its head even further. Its forehead touched the ground in front of Hyunwoo, so gently that it barely disturbed the dust. It was a gesture of submission, of trust. Hyunwoo placed his hand on one of the rocky plates covering the worm's head. The scale was warm and rough under his palm. "Thank you," he whispered. He turned and signaled to Velmora. She approached slowly, carrying scanning equipment. Together they examined the worm, looking for physical injuries. They found several places where the sonic waves had damaged the creature's sensory organs, causing constant pain. "We can treat this," Velmora said, her voice shaking with awe and residual fear. "But the sonic equipment has to be shut down permanently." Hyunwoo activated his communicator. "Governor Subin, the worm isn't attacking your colony. It's defending itself from pain your equipment is causing. If you permanently relocate the mining operations and shut down the sonic excavators, the creature will return to dormancy." There was a long silence. Then Subin's voice came through. "And if we don't, then you'll have to kill it. And sooner or later you'll wake another one. And another. This planet has titan worms underground all over it. Killing one won't solve your problem. Learning to live with them will." Another long pause. Hyunwoo waited, his hand still resting on the worm's head. He could feel the creature's heartbeat through the rocky plates, slow and powerful. Finally, Subin spoke. "The mining operations will be relocated. The sonic equipment will be dismantled. Do what you need to do to help the creature." Over the next 6 hours, Hyunwoo and Velmora treated the worm's injuries. They used medical foam to seal damaged sensory organs. They administered pain medication using drones that flew into the creature's mouth while it held perfectly still, trusting these tiny beings to help it. The worm never moved aggressively. Once, when Velmora slipped on loose rock and nearly fell, the creature's tail moved beneath her, catching her gently and setting her back on her feet. "It's protecting us," Velmora said in wonder. "It knows we're helping." When they finished, Hyunwoo stepped back. The worm lifted its head and looked at him one more time. Then slowly it began to move. Not toward the colony, but away from it, back toward the mountains where it had first emerged. They watched as the massive creature dug into the ground, burrowing deep into the earth. Within an hour it was gone, leaving only the tunnel behind as evidence it had ever been there. Hyunwoo sat down on a rock, suddenly exhausted. His legs were shaking. His hands trembled. He had held it together during the whole experience, but now the fear caught up with him. Velmora sat beside him. "You were terrified, weren't you?" "The entire time," Hyunwoo admitted. "That was the most frightening thing I've ever done." "But you did it anyway," she said. "That's the difference. You feel fear like all of us, but you don't let it stop you." "I almost did," Hyunwoo said quietly. "When I first saw how big it was, I wanted to run." "What made you keep going?" Hyunwoo thought about it. "Because running wouldn't have saved anyone. Not the colonists, not the worm, not the planet. Someone had to try. And I was the one who might succeed." 3 days after the Ravager incident, Velmora stood in the observation room and watched Hyunwoo work. He was in Bay 7 with a creature called a spine lizard, a reptilian animal that had bitten its owner when frightened by a thunderstorm. The owner, a nervous quillen with feathers that changed color with emotion, waited outside. His feathers were gray with worry. The spine lizard was small but aggressive. Its back was covered with poisonous spines that could extend when threatened. Most veterinarians would have sedated it immediately. Hyunwoo sat on the floor of the bay, several feet away from the creature, and simply waited. Velmora had seen him do this before. He called it letting the animal decide. He would sit quietly, not looking directly at the creature, just existing in the same space. Sometimes it took hours, but eventually, the animal would relax. Today it took 40 minutes. The spine lizard finally crawled closer, its spine slowly lowering. Hyunwoo extended his hand very slowly and the lizard sniffed it. Then he gently picked up the creature and examined it. The whole process took another hour, but the lizard never extended its spines once. When Hyunwoo emerged from the bay, the Quillen owner rushed forward. His feathers had turned bright yellow with joy. "How did you do that?" "I've had Spike for 3 years and he's never let anyone touch him except me." "He was scared," Hyunwoo explained. "The storm frightened him, and then when you tried to comfort him, he was still too afraid to recognize you. He needed time to feel safe again." After the Quillen left, Velmora approached Hyunwoo. Her antennae were relaxed now when she was near him. Over the past few days, she had spent more time with the human, and the instinctive fear was fading. She was beginning to understand that Hyunwoo was different. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course. On your world, Earth, you have many predators, yes?" Hyunwoo nodded. "Yes, we have lions, tigers, bears, wolves, crocodiles. Many dangerous animals. And humans hunt them?" "We used to," Hyunwoo said. "A long time ago, humans hunted everything. We were very good at it. Too good. We almost made many species go extinct." Velmora's antennae twitched with surprise. "But you stopped?" "We learned," Hyunwoo said simply. "We learned that being a predator doesn't mean you have to destroy everything. We learned that we could understand these creatures instead of just fearing them. Now we protect them. We study them. We help them survive." That seemed strange. Why would a predator species protect its competitors? Hyunwoo thought for a moment. "Because we realize something important. Those predators are part of us. They're part of what made us who we are. When we look at a wolf or a lion, we see ourselves reflected. We see the same drives, the same instincts. And that gives us insight." Tay rejoined them, carrying a data pad. "The Ravager Hound is being released today. Her owners want to thank you before they leave." In the recovery bay, the Ravager looked completely different. Her fur was clean and brushed. The injured leg was healing well, supported by a light brace. When Hyunwoo entered, her tail wagged slowly. He knelt and let her sniff his hand again. Then he gently scratched behind her ears. The Ravager made a sound like a purr, a deep rumbling in her chest. "She remembers you," one of the Thalan handlers said. "We've never seen her so calm with anyone outside our pack." "She knows I helped her," Hyunwoo said. "Animals understand kindness. They remember who treats them well." After the Ravager left, Hyunwoo found Velmora in her office. She was reviewing files on her computer screen, but she looked troubled. "Is something wrong?" Hyunwoo asked. Velmora's antennae drooped. "I'm reading the galactic protocols for handling dangerous creatures. Everything says to use sedation, containment fields, remote tools. Nothing mentions what you do." "What I do isn't in any protocol," Hyunwoo admitted. "It's something humans learned through thousands of years of trial and error." "Tell me about it," Velmora said. "Please, I want to understand." Hyunwoo sat down. "On Earth we have an animal called a wolf. Thousands of years ago, wolves were one of our biggest competitors. They hunted the same prey we did. They were dangerous. But somewhere in our history, humans and wolves began to work together. We didn't domesticate them through force. We formed a partnership." "A partnership? With predators?" "Yes, those wolves eventually became dogs. Now dogs are everywhere on Earth. They're our companions, our helpers, our friends. And it happened because both species learned to trust each other." Velmora's eyes widened. "You turned a competing predator into an ally?" "We did more than that," Hyunwoo continued. "We did the same thing with cats. Small predators that hunted rodents. We welcomed them into our homes. We learned to read their body language, to understand their needs. We learned that predators aren't mindless killing machines. They're intelligent beings with emotions and fears and the capacity to form bonds." "But you still have wild predators on Earth?" "Yes, and we've learned to live with them too. We study them. We track them. We protect their habitats. We've learned that predators are necessary for healthy ecosystems. Without them, everything falls apart." Tay reappeared in the doorway. "Sorry to interrupt. There's a call from Station Director Byung-ho. He wants to see both of you." Byung-ho was a Korthan. a species that looked vaguely like upright walking bears covered in gray fur. He was one of the few aliens who didn't seem afraid of humans at all. When Hyunwoo and Velmora entered his office, he gestured to seats with a massive paw. "I've been reviewing reports from the medical wing," Byung-ho said. "Hyunwoo, your success rate with aggressive cases is remarkable. In 3 days, you've handled situations that would have required full sedation protocols." "I just treat the animals with respect," Hyunwoo said. "It's more than that," Byung-ho replied. "I want you to conduct a training session for our staff. Show them your methods." Velmora's antennae perked up with interest. "I think that's an excellent idea." "Good, we'll schedule it for next week." "Velmora, work with Hyunwoo to prepare." As they left the director's office, Velmora seemed excited for the first time since Hyunwoo had met her. "This is important. If others can learn what you know, we could change how the entire galaxy treats animals." "I hope so," Hyunwoo said. "But it won't be easy. What I do requires patience and trust." "Trust," Velmora repeated. "That's the part that's hardest for us, isn't it? Trusting something that could hurt us?" "Yes. But it's also the most important part." Over the next few days, word spread through the station about the upcoming training session. Hyunwoo was surprised by how many staff members signed up. Veterinarians from a dozen different species wanted to learn the human method. He spent his evenings preparing with Tyree and Velmora. They reviewed videos from Earth, showing how humans worked with everything from lions to sharks to venomous snakes. Each video showed the same principles: patience, respect, understanding body language, and replacing fear with calm confidence. "Your species is strange," Velmora said one evening as they watched a video of a human swimming with a great white shark. "You seek out danger." "Not danger for its own sake," Hyunwoo corrected. "We seek understanding. That human in the video isn't being reckless. She knows exactly how to read the shark's behavior. She knows when it's curious and when it's aggressive. She's not fighting the shark. She's communicating with it." "In the galaxy, most species avoid predators entirely," Velmora said. "We see them as problems to be eliminated or controlled." "That's the difference," Hyunwoo said. "Humans learned that predators aren't problems. They're just animals trying to survive like everything else. When you understand that, when you see them as individuals with their own needs and fears, everything changes." Velmora was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I think I'm beginning to understand. When I first met you, I was afraid. You're a predator species. Everything in my instincts told me to stay away. But now, I see you as Hyunwoo, a person, not just a predator." "That's exactly it," Hyunwoo said with a smile. "That's what I'm trying to teach about animals too. See the individual, not just the species." The day of the training session arrived. The conference room was packed. Veterinarians from every department attended, along with handlers, medical assistants, and even some security staff. Everyone wanted to hear what the human had to say. Hyunwoo stood at the front of the room, very aware of all the eyes watching him. He took a breath and began. "Thank you all for coming. What I'm going to share with you today isn't really about animals. It's about fear. It's about how we respond when we're faced with something dangerous. And it's about learning to see beyond our instincts." He showed the videos from Earth. He explained the principles, and then he said something that made everyone in the room go silent. "The most important thing to understand is this. When you approach a dangerous animal, it's not just afraid of you. You're afraid of it too. And that's okay. Fear keeps us safe. But if you let fear control you, the animal senses it. Fear creates more fear. What you need to do is acknowledge your fear, accept it, and then breathe through it. Become calm. That calmness is what the animal will respond to." A small alien in the back raised a tentacle. "But humans are predators. You don't have the same fear response we do." "That's not true," Hyunwoo said. "We feel fear just like you. I was terrified when I approached that Ravager hound. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking." The alarm woke Hyunwoo at 3 a.m, station time. He sat up in his bunk, instantly alert. Emergency alarms were rare on the veterinary station. When they sounded, it meant something serious. His communicator buzzed. Velmora's voice came through, high-pitched with stress. "Hyunwoo, get to the main hangar now. It's a void serpent." Hyunwoo's blood went cold. He had read about void serpents during his training. They were one of the galaxy's most feared creatures, massive predators that lived in the void of space, feeding on stellar radiation and occasionally on small ships that wandered too close. They were considered untouchable, Unkillable. He dressed quickly and ran to the hangar. The corridors were full of staff members, all moving away from the hangar. They pressed themselves against the walls as Hyunwoo passed, their fear of him forgotten in the face of a greater terror. The main hangar was the largest space on the station, designed to receive the biggest cargo ships. Tonight it held something else entirely. A void serpent contained within the strongest energy fields the station possessed, writhed in obvious agony. Even constrained, it was massive. Its body was easily 100 feet long, covered in scales that seemed to absorb light. Its head was angular and alien, with rows of teeth designed for tearing through ship hulls. Vellamora stood at a safe distance, her entire body trembling. Around her, the station's senior staff argued in raised voices. Hyunwoo recognized Director Byung-ho's growl above the others. "Wants us to destroy it, but I won't kill an injured creature without trying to help it first." "It's too dangerous," another voice protested. "If those containment fields fail, it could tear through the station." Hyunwoo approached. The arguing stopped as everyone turned to look at him. "Tell me what happened," he said calmly. Byung-ho's expression was grim. A transport ship found it caught in debris from an old station. "The serpent is juvenile, maybe only 50 years old. It's tangled in metal and has severe internal injuries. The Galactic Council wants it destroyed, but I think we should try to save it." "Can we save it?" Hyunwoo asked. "I don't know," Vellamora said. Her antennae were pressed flat against her head. "No one has ever treated a void serpent before. They're too dangerous. Even sedated, one could kill everyone on this station." Hyunwoo moved closer to the containment field. The serpent's massive eye rolled toward him, and he felt the weight of its gaze. The creature was in terrible pain. He could see it in every movement, every shudder that ran through its enormous body. "It's dying," he said quietly. "Yes," Byung-ho confirmed. "If we do nothing, it will be dead within a day. And if we try to treat it?" "It might kill us all," Vellamora whispered. Hyunwoo stared at the suffering creature. He thought about everything he had learned on Earth. About the first humans who approached wild wolves. About the researchers who swam with sharks. About the conservationists who worked with tigers and bears. Every one of them had faced this same choice: retreat in safety or step forward in hope. "I'll do it," he said. The hangar erupted in protests. Multiple voices shouted at once, telling him it was suicide, that he didn't understand what he was dealing with, that the serpent would kill him the moment he got close. Hyunwoo waited for the noise to die down. Then he said, "I understand the risk, but that creature is in agony. It doesn't want to hurt us. It just wants the pain to stop. Someone has to help it, and I'm the best chance it has." "I'll assist," Tyree said, stepping forward. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "No," Hyunwoo said. "Not this time. If something goes wrong, I won't risk anyone else." "Then I'm going too," Vellamora said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. Her antennae were shaking, but she stood firm. "You've taught me about facing fear, about trusting. If you can approach a void serpent, then I can stand with you." Hyunwoo looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, but we do this my way." For the next hour, Hyunwoo studied the serpent from outside the containment field. He watched how it moved, how it reacted to sounds and lights. He studied its body language. Vellamora brought him every piece of data they had on void serpent biology, which wasn't much. These creatures were so rare and dangerous that few scientists had ever studied them closely. "The debris is embedded in its lower torso," Vellamora explained, pointing to a holographic display. 3 large pieces of metal. They've damaged several internal organs. The serpent is also tangled in cables that are cutting into its scales. Can we remove the debris? With medical drones, perhaps. But the serpent would have to stay absolutely still. Any sudden movement could make the injuries worse. Then we need it to trust us, Hyunwoo said. We need it to understand that we're trying to help. Byung-ho shook his massive head. That's impossible. Void serpents are not domestic animals. They're wild predators with intelligence we don't fully understand. All the more reason to treat it with respect, Hyunwoo replied. He began making preparations. The medical drones were programmed and tested. Surgical tools were prepared. Emergency protocols were established. And through it all, Hyunwoo kept returning to watch the serpent, learning its patterns, beginning to understand its pain. Finally, as the station's artificial sun began to brighten, signaling morning, Hyunwoo was ready. Lower the containment field, he said. That's insane, someone shouted. I can't approach it through an energy field, Hunwoo explained patiently. It needs to see me as a living being, not a threat behind a barrier. Lower the field. Byung-ho looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded to the technician. Do it. But be ready to raise it again instantly. The containment field flickered and died. Suddenly, nothing stood between Hyunwoo and the Void Serpent except empty space. The creature's head swung toward him immediately. Its eye, larger than Hyunwoo's entire body, focused on him with terrifying intelligence. The serpent's mouth opened slightly, showing teeth that could bite a man in half without effort. Every instinct in Hyunwoo's body screamed at him to run. His heart hammered in his chest. His hands were slick with sweat. But he took a deep breath and stepped forward. One step, then another. Moving slowly, keeping his body relaxed, his breathing steady, the serpent watched him, its massive body tensed. It could strike at any moment. Hyunwoo began to speak, not in Galactic Common or Korean, but in the same soft, wordless sounds he had used with the Ravager Hound. Low, rhythmic, calm, the sounds of someone who meant no harm. He took another step. And another. Behind him he heard Velmora gasp, but he didn't turn around. His entire focus was on the creature before him. It's just frightened, he whispered. You're hurt and everything around you is strange. I know you're scared. I'm scared too, but I want to help you. The serpent's eye narrowed. Its body shifted, coils moving with a sound like sliding metal. Hyunwoo stopped, giving it space, showing he wasn't a threat. Minutes passed. The entire hangar was silent except for Hyunwoo's soft sounds and the serpent's labored breathing. Then, slowly, the serpent's body began to relax. The tension in its coils eased. Its eye, while still watching Hyunwoo, lost some of its wild fear. Hyunwoo took another step forward. He was now within striking distance. If the serpent wanted to kill him, it could do so in an instant. Instead, the serpent lowered its massive head until it was level with Hyunwoo. They stared at each other, human and cosmic predator, separated by millions of years of evolution but connected by something fundamental. Pain, fear, and the need for help. I'm going to touch you now, Hyunwoo said softly. It might hurt. I'm sorry, but I need to check your injuries. He reached out with one hand. The scales were cool under his fingers, smooth like polished stone. The serpent flinched but didn't pull away. Hyunwoo slowly walked along the serpent's body, examining the embedded debris. Up close, it was even worse than the scans had shown. The metal pieces were deep and the cables had cut through several scales. This was going to be a long, painful procedure. Velmora, he called softly. I need you now. Velmora approached on trembling legs. Every survival instinct she possessed told her to run, but she forced herself forward. When she reached Hyunwoo's side, she looked up at the serpent's eye, watching them, and nearly fainted. It's all right, Hyunwoo said. She knows we're here to help. Can you start scanning the wounds while I prepare the drones? Working together, they began the delicate process of freeing the Void Serpent from its metal prison. The medical drones cut away cables while Hyunwoo carefully extracted debris. Every few minutes, the serpent would shudder with pain, and Hyunwoo would stop, speaking softly until it calmed. 6 hours passed. Technicians brought them food and water, sliding it across the hangar floor from a safe distance. Terry monitored their vital signs remotely, ready to sound an alarm if anything went wrong. The serpent never attacked. Several times when the pain was worst, it made a sound like a groan that resonated through the entire hangar. Once, when Hyunwoo had to remove a particularly deep piece of metal, and the serpent cried out, he stopped and simply pressed his hand against its scales, offering what comfort he could. And then, unexpectedly, something happened that no one could have predicted. The serpent's tail, that massive appendage that could crush a transport ship, slowly moved across the floor. It curved around behind Hyunwoo and Velmora, then gently wrapped around them both. It wasn't an attack. It was an embrace. The video spread like wildfire through the galactic network. Someone had recorded the moment when the Void Serpent wrapped its tail around Hyunwoo and Velmora. Within hours, billions of beings across hundreds of worlds had watched it. The human who calmed the uncalmable. The predator who understood predators. Hyunwoo woke to find his communicator flooded with messages. Requests for interviews, offers from other veterinary stations, questions from researchers who had spent their entire lives studying animal behavior. He turned off the communicator and went to find breakfast. The station's cafeteria went quiet when he entered. Every being there turned to look at him. Then slowly, One alien began tapping their eating utensil against the table. Another joined in. Then another. Soon the entire cafeteria was filled with the sound. The alien equivalent of applause. Hyunwoo felt his face grow hot. He wasn't used to attention. He grabbed food quickly and found a corner table, hoping to eat in peace. Tae-ri joined him, sliding into the seat across from him. "You're famous," she said with a smile. "I just did my job. You did more than that. You changed how an entire galaxy sees dangerous creatures, and maybe how they see humans too." Before Hyunwoo could respond, Velmora appeared with Director Byung-ho. Both looked excited. "We need to talk," Byung-ho said, sitting down with a heavy thump. "The Galactic Veterinary Council has been watching your work. They want you to conduct a full training program." "I already did a training session," Hyunwoo said, "not like this. They want a comprehensive course on predator psychology and handling. They want to send veterinarians from across the galaxy to learn from you. They're calling it the Interspecies Approach to Xenofauna Crisis Management." Hyunwoo blinked. "That's a very long name." "Most aliens like long official names," Tae-ri said. "It makes things sound important." "This is important," Velmora said, her antennae quivering with excitement. "Hyunwoo, what you know could change how we treat animals everywhere. Not just the dangerous ones. All of them." "I don't know if I can teach what I do," Hyunwoo said slowly. "A lot of it is instinct, experience, feeling." "Then teach them to feel," Velmora urged. "Teach them to see what you see." Over the next few weeks, Hyunwoo found himself becoming a teacher. The first group of students arrived. 12 veterinarians from different species, each chosen by their governments as the best of the best. They were nervous, curious, and more than a little afraid. The first lesson was simple. Hyunwoo brought them to a treatment bay, where a small creature called a thorn mouse was recovering from an injury. Thorn mice were covered in sharp quills and were known for being aggressive when frightened. "I want each of you to approach the thorn mouse," Hyunwoo said. "But before you do, I want you to check your own feelings. Are you afraid? Nervous? Excited? Don't ignore those feelings. Acknowledge them." One by one, the students approached the thorn mouse. Most of them made the same mistakes, moving too quickly, looking directly into the creature's eyes, reaching out too soon. The thorn mouse raised its quills each time, hissing. Then Hyunwoo demonstrated. He approached slowly, breathing deeply, keeping his body relaxed. He didn't look at the mouse directly. He just moved into its space calmly and waited. After a few minutes, the thorn mouse's quills lowered. It sniffed toward Hyunwoo curiously. "The difference," Hyunwoo explained, "is not in what I did. It's in what I didn't do. I didn't bring my fear or my expectations to the interaction. I just existed in the same space and let the animal decide I wasn't a threat." A student named Ji-won, a human xenoarchaeologist who was auditing the course, raised her hand. "But how do you stop feeling afraid?" "You don't," Hyunwoo said. "Fear is natural and important. It keeps you safe. The trick is to feel the fear, accept it, and then breathe through it. Your body can be afraid while your mind stays calm." The days turned into weeks. Hyunwoo taught them about body language, about reading the subtle signs of stress or comfort in animals. He taught them about patience, about giving creatures time to adjust. He taught them about respect, treating every animal as an individual with its own personality and needs. Velmora co-taught many of the sessions, sharing her own journey from fear to understanding. "I was terrified of Hyunwoo when he first arrived," she told the class. "He's a predator species. Everything in my biology said to run. But I learned that species classifications don't define individuals. Hyunwoo taught me to see beyond my instincts." One evening, after a particularly long teaching session, Hyunwoo and Velmora sat in the observation lounge. Through the large windows, they could see the stars and the occasional ship passing by. "Do you think they're learning?" Velmora asked. "Some of them," Hyunwoo said. "The ones who are willing to change how they think. But it's hard. I'm asking them to go against millions of years of evolution." "You went against your evolution too," Velmora pointed out. "Humans are predators, but you chose to protect instead of hunt." "Humans evolved," Hyunwoo said. "We learned that there's more to being a predator than just killing. We learned cooperation, empathy, conservation. Maybe that's our real advantage. We evolved not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too." The door to the lounge opened and Tae-ri rushed in. "You need to see this. There's an incident in Bay 12. They hurried to Bay 12, where they found one of the students, a young Quillen named Dae-jung, standing perfectly still. He was covered in purple goo from a slime toad that had panicked and secreted its defensive mucus all over him. But Daejung wasn't angry or upset. He was smiling. "I did it," he said quietly. "The slime toad was afraid when I entered, so I stopped and just breathed. I waited for 20 minutes and then it came to me. It actually climbed onto my hand. I've never been able to do that before." Hyunwoo grinned. "The goo? That happened when someone opened the door suddenly and startled it. But look." Daejung gestured to his shoulder where the slime toad now sat, making soft croaking sounds. "It trusts me now." "Good work," Hyunwoo said. "That's exactly what I've been trying to teach. Patience and calm win over fear." But not everything went smoothly. One afternoon, a student named Subin, a rigid Vorian who believed strongly in following rules and protocols, challenged Hyunwoo publicly. "Your methods are too risky," Subin said during a lecture. "Galactic protocols exist for a reason. They keep both veterinarians and animals safe. You're teaching people to ignore safety measures." "I'm not ignoring safety," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "I'm teaching a different kind of safety. One based on understanding rather than control." "That's not good enough," Subin insisted. "What happens when someone follows your methods and gets hurt? What happens when a creature attacks despite all your breathing and patience?" "It can happen," Hyunwoo admitted. "No method is perfect. Animals are unpredictable sometimes. But I found that treating them with respect and understanding is safer than treating them like dangerous objects that need to be controlled." "Easy for a predator species to say," Subin shot back. "You don't understand what it's like to be prey." The room went silent. Hyunwoo took a breath, keeping his voice level. "You're right. I don't know what it's like to be a prey species, but I do know what it's like to be afraid. And I know that fear makes everyone vulnerable, predator or prey. The question is, do we let fear control us or do we learn to work with it?" Subin had no answer to that. Later, Velmora found Hyunwoo in the training room, practicing with a holographic simulation of an aggressive creature. He was working through different approach scenarios. "Subin was harsh," she said. "Subin was honest," Hyunwoo replied, "and maybe right about some things. What I teach is risky. It requires trust, and trust can be betrayed. But it's worth it," Velmora said. "I've seen the difference in how our students handle animals now. They're calmer, more confident. The animals respond better." "I hope so," Hyunwoo said. "Because if this doesn't work, if someone gets hurt following my methods, I don't know if I can forgive myself." "The same could be said for old methods too," Velmora pointed out. "How many animals have been traumatized by heavy sedation and containment fields? How many died because we were too afraid to treat them properly? Your way might be risky, but at least it gives creatures a chance to be treated with dignity." The training program continued for another month. By the end, all 12 students had successfully handled at least one dangerous creature using Hyunwoo's methods. Even Subin, though reluctantly, admitted that the approach had merit. On the final day, Byung-ho held a graduation ceremony. Each student received a certification in interspecies xenofauna management. They would return to their home worlds and teach others what they had learned. As the students filed out, many of them stopped to thank Hyunwoo personally. Some were in tears. Others simply clasped his hand or touched his shoulder, signs of respect in their various cultures. Daejung, the young Quillen who had mastered the slime toad, stopped last. "You changed my life," he said simply. "I used to be afraid of every animal I treated. Now I see them differently. I see the fear behind the aggression. Thank you." After everyone left, Hyunwoo stood alone in the empty conference room. He felt tired but satisfied. Maybe he had made a difference. Maybe the galaxy would be a little kinder to its creatures now. Tae reappeared in the doorway. "Come on, teacher. Velmora is organizing a celebration.